Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to view this session. This is the first in a series of presentations that will help those tasked with reporting for SDG indicator 632 in their countries. This presentation is just a short introduction, and it will be followed by a series of technical sessions and another detailed one describing the specific steps of the reporting process. And before we go much further, I'd just like to introduce myself firstly, and then hand over to each of the members of the GEMS Water Indicator 632 team. My name is Stuart Warner from the Capacity Development Centre, which is based in University College Cork. I've been involved in the indicator for the last few years, and was involved in the first data drive in 2017, and we've been involved with the feedback process and the development and the build up for this next data drive. So let's hand over to Caitlin.
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin and I work with Stuart in the Capacity Development Centre in University College Cork. I'm project assistant with the Capacity Development Centre, and I've previously mostly been involved with our educational programmes. We've run online educational courses through the university, and also our ambient water quality training workshops. So I'm newly involved in the Indicator 632 team. And I'll hand over to Killian.
Thank you, Caitlin. My name is Killian Christ. I'm based at the headquarters of the UN Environment Programme in Nairobi in Kenya, and I'm working for the SDG 6 help desk that supports countries on the three SDG indicators, on the three SDG 6 indicators that UNEP is responsible for. And with me, there's my colleague, Nasra.
Thank you, Killian. I am Nasra Mahmoud. I work on SDG 632 in UN Environment Headquarters based in Nairobi, Kenya. I will hand it over to Philip.
Thank you, Nasra. My name is Philip Seiler. I'm the head of the GEMS Water Data Center based within the International Center for Water Resources and Global Change at the Federal Institute of Hydrology in Germany. And we support member states in collecting and reporting water quality monitoring data through the GEMS Water Program, and also in calculating and reporting SDG 632 indicator during the 2020 data drive.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, everyone. So just to keep things moving, the objectives of this session, we're going to introduce the indicator for those who aren't familiar with it, and we'll provide a bit of context of where the indicator fits in within the SDG framework and Agenda 2030. I'll go into a little bit more detail on the actual methodology and give a brief overview. Philip will then talk about the reporting process, and Caitlin would describe the support that we've put in place to help countries to report this year. Okay, so we'll start with the context of the indicator, and Killian's going to describe this bit for us.
Thank you, Stuart. I will give a quick update on the UN Water Integrated Monitoring Initiative, or SDG 6. And through this initiative, which in short is called IMI SDG 6, the UN system seeks to support countries in monitoring and reporting on the water-related SDG indicators. And various UN agencies are involved. Here you see an overview over all the SDG 6 targets and indicators and which agencies are working on them. The UN Environment Programme is responsible for 3 of the SDG 6 indicators. Of course, that is 632 on water quality, and the others are 651 on integrated water resources management and 661 on healthy freshwater ecosystems. Our aim is to first support data collection and analysis, and then support policy and decision makers at all levels to use this data. On the next slide, you see what happened in the so-called phase 1 of the initiative that was between 2015 and 2018. The goal of phase 1 was to establish a global baseline data, which first required the development of the methodology for the indicator and also involved a lot of learning and pilot testing. The outcomes of phase 1 are summarized in various indicator reports and a synthesis report on SDG 6. These are all available online. And for 632, we managed to collect data from around 50 countries, which was a good start. But now in phase 2, we would, of course, like to increase that number and improve the quality of data submission. Here you see phase 2, that will be between 2019 and 2022. It has a similar structure as phase 1. There's the data drive accompanied by support and capacity development from the UN side. But phase 2 also intends to stress the building of national ownership. We don't want this just to be a cumbersome task that countries need to do for the UN, but want this also to be helpful for you in your countries to help mainstreaming water quality monitoring within ministries and link monitoring to decision making so that it receives the attention it deserves. Also on a global level, the findings of this phase 2 will feed into key processes such as the development of the World Water Quality Assessment and high-level political processes. A lot of global political attention around SDG 6 usually goes to water and supply and sanitation, which of course deserves this attention, but if we manage to collect good data for 632, we might be able to also raise the international profile of ambient water quality. That's all from my side. With it, I'm handing back over.
That's great. Thanks, Kilian. I'll just briefly give a bit more detail on the indicator and the rationale for the indicator, and a brief overview of the step-by-step methodology. So the target 6.3 is quite simply by 2030 to improve water quality by reducing pollution, eliminating dumping and minimizing release of hazardous chemicals and materials, halving the proportion of untreated wastewater, and substantially increasing recycling and safe reuse globally. Now, this target is measured by two indicators. Indicator 631 is the proportion of wastewater which is safely treated, and that's divided into domestic and industrial wastewater. And by this indicator, indicator 632, it's the proportion of bodies of water with good ambient water quality. And these two are obviously linked, because if we see improvements in the proportion of wastewater safely treated, this should be reflected in the overall quality of our ambient water quality, the quality of our rivers, our lakes, and our aquifers. So establishing a national water quality monitoring network and collecting and analysing the data have benefits for sustainable management of water resources at the national level. Effective water management needs reliable water quality information, and without which there may be inadequate controls on the wastewater discharges. We may see insufficient water treatment for drinking water, and also inadequate conservation or remediation of water bodies and wetlands. So if we can strive to achieve target 6.3 through reporting on indicator 632, this can help countries to manage their water resources more sustainably for the future. Now, as Kilian mentioned, 2017 saw the first global data drive, and in 2018 we undertook an extensive review process aimed at maximising the global participation, enhancing the national relevance of the indicator, and also to ensure that the submissions are globally comparable. So the indicator in one country matches that which is reported in another. So the rationale for the indicator is that good water quality does not damage ecosystem function or present a risk to human health when the water is used for drinking or cooking or recreational activities. Water quality that is not impacted by human activities supports a balanced ecosystem with good species diversity and requires little treatment before use. But as we know, many activities can lead to unsatisfactory water quality, such as discharges of untreated wastewaters from domestic, urban and industrial situations, use of fertilizer and pesticides in agriculture, and the extraction of minerals and oil resources. These can all impact the quality of our water. And being able to classify water quality as good or not good requires a water quality monitoring program that generates credible data. And to generate these data, and for the indicator to be able to provide this information on the current status of freshwater quality, but also how this quality changes over time, the trends in water quality, you need three critical components. You need the network of monitoring stations. You need to be able to collect measurements in situ or be able to collect samples and take them back to a laboratory. So you need an analytical capacity. And you also need a data management capacity. And following the 2017 data drive, we learned that many countries struggle to achieve all three of these. And as a result, there are many data gaps, both spatially and temporally in many countries. And because of this, there is not a clear understanding of the quality of their fresh waters. So indicator 632 is reported as the proportion of bodies of water with good ambient water quality. This means, as a first step, countries need to define the boundaries of their water bodies. This is like sections of a river, a lake, or a groundwater body. And water quality can be determined and classified from its physical, chemical, or biological characteristics. Traditional water quality monitoring undertaken in most countries uses physical and chemical measurements. So for the purposes of indicator 632, the index we use is calculated from very easily measured physical and chemical parameters, which can be selected from these 5 parameter groups. These parameter groups for surface waters are salinity, nitrogen, phosphorus, acidity, and oxygen. Now these 5 parameter groups are chosen because they represent the pressures to water quality which are relevant everywhere in the world. So namely, from salinization, acidification, nutrient pollution, and also oxygen depletion. Now there are many more pressures and impacts on water which are described later on, but these are the ones which are globally everywhere. So these are the ones which are incorporated in the core parameters. And for groundwaters, the core parameters are restricted to just the conductivity, nitrate, and pH. And the approach that is using is that good water quality represents at least 80% compliance of measurements with target values. So each water body, for each of these core parameters, there are set numerical target values, and the measured values are compared to these targets. And if you have an 80% compliance, so if 80% or more of your measured values meet your targets, that water body is simply classified as good. If it doesn't, it's classified as not good. So there's a binary classification process used. This table just quickly shows shows the list of the parameter groups and the suggested parameters that can be used to represent each of the parameters. So for oxygen, we recommend dissolved oxygen is used. For salinity, electrical conductivity, but some countries routinely measure total dissolved solids, for example. For the nitrogen parameter, countries can either measure total oxidized nitrogen, total nitrogen, or ammoniacal nitrogen, or nitrate. For phosphorus, we recommend orthophosphate, just because it's more simple to measure, or total phosphorus. And for the acidification parameter group, countries can choose to measure pH. So to give a bit more information on the methodology and the target-based approach, these target values, they represent thresholds that indicate whether the water quality is good or whether it's subject to impairment from human or a natural influence. Ideally, target values should be chosen to protect ambient water quality, but countries can choose use-related targets if they choose. Countries select their own targets, although we have suggested there are optional targets that countries can adopt in the absence of their own. And countries can choose target values which are specific, either that you can set targets that apply to the national situation, or you can be more specific and look at river basin, a typology level. For example, you may set a different target value for an upland river to a lowland river. And you can really get down to quite specific detail, but that's on a country by country basis as they choose. The indicator is calculated as the proportion of bodies of water. Now, these bodies of water can be a short section of a river, or a small tributary of a river, a lake, or an aquifer. And as shown here, these small water body units are grouped into reporting basin districts. And this map here just shows an example of some river water bodies which are nested into 3 river basins, reporting basin districts. This river basin district concept provides, the reason we use this is that it provides a practical spatial unit that can be used for management. This is especially relevant for countries that share transboundary waters, where strategic efforts to assess and manage water quality are of benefit for all of the transboundary countries. It's also useful to help to communicate the difference in water quality from one part of a country to another. Not all countries have more than one river basin, and that's important to mention too. Some countries may lie wholly within a single river basin, but other larger countries may be naturally divided and already use these river basin units for their national reporting already. And it's these units which we encourage countries to use if they have them established already. Now, reporting for the 2020 data drive is split into 2 levels. So level 1 is the simple water quality index using the core parameters as described above. Level 2 is optional and unconstrained. So countries can report any additional information that they may have on the quality of their waters. Examples include maybe additional parameters that they may be monitoring already. It may include outputs or approaches to water quality monitoring, such as earth observation, monitoring programs that use biological approaches to water quality, and citizen science monitoring programs. But just to reiterate, level 2 is totally unconstrained and is optional. So countries don't have to report at level 2 if they don't want to. So that's a brief overview of the indicator. I'll just hand over to Philip now to give to walk through the workflow description.
Thank you, Stuart. And over the next couple of slides, I'll just give the very high-level overview. of the upcoming 2020 data drive and the data requirements that are relevant to fulfill the reporting templates, as well as the structure of the actual reporting template for level 1 reporting. So the reporting workflow for the 2020 data drive follows basically 5 principal steps. Currently, we are establishing focal points through the SDG 632 help desk and reaching out to countries to make them aware of the upcoming process. And in April 2020, we sent the data requests together with reporting templates and guidance information on the indicator methodology, as well as the reporting process itself to countries. Then from April until the end of August, countries are asked to compile the data and report the indicator data ultimately to us. During that time, the GEMS Water Indicator team provides also assistance to data providers in case there are any open questions regarding the methodology or the reporting process. Upon the submission of reporting data by data providers, we validate the data continuously in collaboration with data providers in case there are unclear or challenging aspects within the reported data. Once the validated data once the data validation has been finalized, the data will be analyzed and prepared for global reporting, both to the global SDG indicator database of UNEP, as well as the overall SDG indicator base of the United Nations Statistical Division. In addition to the database reports, we will also compile an indicator report that will give an overview of the current status of reporting at the global level. In terms of the data requirements for level 1 reporting, data can be reported at 3 different spatial levels, either at the water body level, so for each single water body being assessed, or at the reporting basin district level, or just nationally. Depending on the reporting level, there are different data requirements and data elements that we ask you to report. For all 3 different reporting levels, we need temporal information about the begin and the end of the assessment period and the data being used. Information about the number of monitoring locations, the number of monitoring values, and the number of parameter groups. This information will allow us to assess the completeness and comprehensiveness of the indicator. If you report at the water body level, we also ask you to provide information about the assessment results of the quality status of every single water body. If you report at the reporting basin district level or the national level, we would also ask you to provide the number of assessed water bodies, as well as the percentage of assessed water bodies with good quality, ultimately the actual water quality index. For all 3 reporting levels, we also ask you to provide additional information on the target values that for each water body type and parameter that you have used to assess the quality status of the water body types. In the following, I will quickly give an overview about the reporting template that we will provide to you and ask you to report the indicator data. The reporting template is provided as an Excel spreadsheet and contains several tables, as you can see on this slide. The first 3 tables include general information. The table overview asks for information, gives information about the structure of the template and contains guidance on how data needs to be entered. The second table called concepts include the concepts and definitions of the terms that are used within the reporting template. And the table data description contains information about all the data elements and fields, including formats. The actual data entry is shown, the tables for the data entry are shown in the lower left block. And the first reporting table there is called submission information, and that asks for general information about the country, the organization, and individual submitting the reporting data. Depending on the level of reporting that you choose to do, there are additional data entry tables. On the left side, you see reporting basin district and RBD water quality. These two tables ask for metadata of the reporting basin district, and which serves as a reference for the reporting of the actual water quality information at the reporting basin district level. If you choose to report at the water body level, there are again two tables called water body and water body water quality that allow you to provide information and metadata about the water bodies themselves, as well as the assessment results at the water body level. If you provide information just at the national level, this can be entered in the table national water quality, which contains the aggregated information for all water bodies being assessed. Lastly, the table water quality targets ask you to report the target values that have been used to assess water quality. And this can be done either at the water body level, at the reporting basin district level, or at the national level, depending on what reporting level that you choose. On the right side, there's also a list of code lists that are used throughout the data entry tables and serve as a reference for clear identification of certain data elements. That includes code lists of the country, about transboundary river basins, the type of water bodies being used, the parameters being used to assess the water quality, units, and the reporting type. So whether you report at the water body level, the reporting basin district level, or just the national level. In addition to this level 1 report, as Stuart has mentioned, we, during the 2020 data drive, also provide the option to report on additional data under level 2. This will be initially done this year through a simple questionnaire that includes questions about relevant indicators being used at the national level to assess water quality, the related water quality parameters being used, and additional data sources that are being used on top of in situ data, such as remote sensing or modeling. If additional water quality indicators are available at the national level and comply with the overall indicator methodology, another Excel spreadsheet that extends the level 1 report is provided and can be used to report additional nationally relevant water quality indices. And with this, I hand over to Caitlin.
The last section of the presentation will discuss the support mechanisms available for the 2020 data drive. There's a new SDG Indicator 632 support platform. The link to this is at the bottom of this slide. This platform contains all the support material and services, including guidance documents for monitoring program design, target values, groundwater, and level 2 monitoring. There are also documents and case studies linked to the help desk and frequently asked questions section. The resources available on this support platform will grow over the coming months, particularly in the frequently asked questions section. The number of case studies will also grow as country projects are completed and more projects come on board. This page will allow you to first check whether your query has been answered in the frequently asked questions section, and if not, you can contact the help desk. The help desk email address is sdg632@un.org. The water quality scorecard and confidence rating are new concepts since the last data drive. They are generated by us upon your request after you have reported for the indicator. Firstly, the water quality scorecard can communicate why your designated freshwater may not be of good ambient water quality. In the example on this slide, the water quality scorecard for RBDA reporting basin district A shows that all the 5 core parameter groups met their target values 80% of the time, whereas the RBDB's salinity and pH data was good, but it was failing on oxygen, nitrogen and phosphorus. This scorecard can be determined at any level, whether monitoring station, water body or river basin, to see which parameters were meeting the target values and those that were not. This tool can then be a simple and graphical way of communicating the indicator and the information that goes into calculating it to others, including decision makers. The confidence rating gives an idea of how much data was used to calculate the score. It is important to remember that the end product of the indicator is one single number, and from the 2017 data drive, it was clear there was a huge difference in the volume of data being inputted by countries to generate the indicator score. The more data used to calculate the indicator score typically means the score more accurately reflects the condition of a country's freshwater. A+ is the highest rating, where large quantities of relevant data from across the country were used, and E- is the lowest, reflecting a very limited input of data to calculate the indicator score. The confidence rating can also be applied at different levels, from national scale to a river basin. These extra tools are optional, so it is up to each individual country whether they wish to use them. The range in target values used in the 2017 data drive were very wide. Target value questions were numerous, including what to use, what was the most appropriate, and how to generate your own target values. Based on the feedback received, we've devised some optional target values that countries can use if they don't have their own. There is a specific technical document on target value setting that will be available on the support platform very soon. This slide comes from that document. These are optional values that a country could use if they do not have national standards and don't have enough data to calculate their own standards. Target values are typically country or even site specific, as natural conditions influence the natural water quality. This is especially true for electrical conductivity, where a better approach is to use a deviation from normal rather than a specific numerical value. Indicator calculation support. So in addition to the online support discussed, including the technical documents and the frequently asked questions section, there's also indicator calculation support. This service came from feedback from the previous data drive, where some countries struggled calculating their scores. Therefore, this indicator calculation support will be provided to those countries that need support calculating their score. You can approach us through the help desk that can be accessed via our support platform or email sdg632@un.org. However, if you need this service, we do require additional information about the data. This extra information includes monitoring data to calculate the indicator and target values for your country, water bodies or reporting basin districts. Alternatively, if there are no target values available, we can use the optional ones that were introduced in the last slide. In addition, we need information on the water bodies and reporting basin districts that you would like to be used for the indicator calculation. Again, there is an alternative. If you do not have this information, we can use existing global data sets from hydro basins. There will be more about this indicator calculation support in the upcoming reporting online session and in the reporting process document that will be available soon on the support platform.
And just to reiterate that we do have the Indicate 632 platform up and running. The link is here on this slide. And we also have the help desk, which is constantly manned. So if you have any queries or seek any clarification on anything you've heard here today, please do contact us. Please contact us through that. Okay, so we look forward to receiving your indicator submission and working with you in the future. And I'd just like to say thanks again, and thanks from all of us. Thank you.